The seven wonders of the ancient world have fascinated people for centuries. Part history, part legend, and part mystery. But a natural question comes up. Were they actually real, or are they exaggerated myths? Imagine walking into an ancient desert city and suddenly seeing lush green terraces rising into the sky, filled with trees, flowers, and flowing water. The Hanging Gardens were said to be built in the ancient city of Babylon, near modern-day Iraq, around 600 BCE. According to ancient writers, they were constructed by King Nebuchadnezzar II for his wife, who missed the green hills of her homeland. To cheer her up, he supposedly created a massive garden that looked like a mountain covered in plants. But these weren't ordinary gardens. They were described as a series of terraces stacked on top of each other, almost like a giant staircase. Water had to be lifted from the nearby Euphrates River to irrigate the plants, an incredible engineering challenge for the time. Some historians believe ancient machines like chain pumps may have been used to bring water upward. However, here's where the mystery begins. There is no clear archaeological evidence that the Hanging Gardens ever existed in Babylon. No ruins have been found that match the descriptions. Everything we know comes from ancient Greek and Roman writers who may not have even seen the gardens themselves. So, were the Hanging Gardens real? The truth is, we don't know for sure. They might have been a real, breathtaking achievement of ancient engineering, or they might be a legend that grew more spectacular with each retelling. While the Hanging Gardens blur the line between myth and reality, other wonders were undeniably real and inspired awe in those who saw them. One such masterpiece stood in ancient Greece, the mighty statue of Zeus at Olympia. The statue stood in the sacred city of Olympia, the birthplace of the Olympic Games. It was created around 435 BCE by the famous Greek sculptor Phidias, one of the greatest artists of his time. The statue represented Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. Seated on an elaborate throne, Zeus was depicted as calm, powerful, and majestic. The statue was enormous, about 12 meters or 39 feet tall, nearly reaching the ceiling of the temple. What made this wonder even more extraordinary was the way it was built. It used a technique called chryselephantine, meaning it was made from gold and ivory. Ivory was used for the skin, while gold covered the robes and decorations. The throne itself was richly decorated with precious materials like ebony and gemstones. In one hand, Zeus held a small statue of Nike, the goddess of victory. In the other, he carried a scepter topped with an eagle, symbols of power and authority. The entire statue was designed to inspire awe and devotion, reminding visitors of the greatness of the gods. For centuries, people travelled from across the Greek world to see it. It wasn't just a piece of art, it was a powerful religious symbol and a centerpiece of ancient culture. But like many of the seven wonders, it did not survive. The statue was eventually lost, likely destroyed in a fire after being moved to another city, possibly Constantinople. Today, nothing remains of it except inscription coins and artistic recreations. So was it real? Yes, historians are confident the statue of Zeus truly existed. But because it's completely gone, it feels almost like a myth. Far from Olympia, on the shores of Egypt, the towering Lighthouse of Alexandria would guide sailors through dangerous waters, proving that some wonders were not only beautiful, but essential. The lighthouse stood on the small island of Pharos, just off the coast of Alexandria. Built around the 3rd century BCE during the reign of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, it was designed to help guide ships into one of the busiest ports of the ancient Mediterranean. At the time, Alexandria was a major centre of trade, culture and learning. But its coastline was dangerous, filled with rocks and difficult to navigate. The lighthouse was built as a solution, and it quickly became one of the most impressive structures of the ancient world. It is believed to have stood between 100 and 130 meters tall, making it one of the tallest man-made structures of its time. It had 3 main sections: a square base, a middle octagonal tower, and a circular top. At the very top, a fire burned at night, and during the day, polished mirrors reflected sunlight out to sea. This light could be seen from many kilometers away, guiding sailors safely to port. It wasn't just a building, it was a life-saving tool and a symbol of innovation. But it did not survive forever. Over the centuries, a series of powerful earthquakes damaged the structure. By the Middle Ages, it had largely collapsed. Later, some of its stones were used to build a nearby fortress, the citadel of Kite Bay, which still stands today on the same site. So, was the Lighthouse of Alexandria real? Absolutely. Historical records and underwater archaeological discoveries confirm its existence and remarkable design. From a structure that guided ships to one that preserved memory and legacy, we turn to the remarkable Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, a monument built to ensure one ruler would never be forgotten. The mausoleum was built in the 4th century BCE in the city of Halicarnassus, located in present-day Turkey. It was constructed as a tomb for Mausolus, a ruler of the region of Caria, and was commissioned by his wife and sister Artemisia II of Caria after his death. But this was no ordinary tomb. The structure stood about 45 meters, or 148 feet tall, and combined architectural styles from different cultures: Greek, Egyptian, and Lycian. It had a massive rectangular base surrounded by columns and topped with a stepped pyramid. At the very top stood a grand sculpture of a chariot pulled by 4 horses. What made the mausoleum truly remarkable was its artistic detail. It was decorated with intricate carvings and statues created by some of the greatest sculptors of the ancient world. These artworks depicted battles, mythological scenes, and powerful figures, turning the tomb into both a monument and a masterpiece. In fact, the mausoleum was so famous that the word mausoleum is still used today to describe large and impressive tombs. For centuries, the structure stood as a symbol of honor and remembrance. But like many of the 7 wonders, it did not survive intact. A series of earthquakes during the Middle Ages caused severe damage, and eventually much of the stone was taken and reused by the Knights Hospitaller to build a nearby castle. Today, only ruins remain at the site, along with some sculptures preserved in museums. Still, these remnants give us a glimpse of how magnificent the mausoleum once was. Long before Halicarnassus, rising from the sands of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood as the ultimate symbol of eternal legacy, vast, mysterious, and still standing today. The pyramid was built around 2560 BCE during the reign of the Egyptian pharaoh Khufu, also known as Cheops. It stands on the Giza Plateau near the modern city of Cairo, and was originally constructed as a tomb for the pharaoh. What makes the Great Pyramid so extraordinary is not just its age, but its precision and scale. Originally standing at about 146 meters or 479 feet tall, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world for nearly 4,000 years. It is made up of approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons. Even today, experts are still amazed at how the ancient Egyptians managed to build it. They had no modern machines, no cranes, and no advanced tools, yet the stones were cut and placed with incredible accuracy. The sides of the pyramid are almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Inside, the pyramid contains a complex system of passages and chambers, including the king's chamber, where Khufu was believed to be buried. These internal structures show a deep understanding of engineering and design. The pyramid's shape is thought to represent a staircase to the sky, helping the pharaoh's soul ascend to join the gods. Unlike the other 6 wonders, which have been destroyed over time, the Great Pyramid still stands today. Though its outer casing stones are mostly gone, its core structure remains remarkably intact. Shifting from the deserts of Egypt to the heart of the ancient Greek world, we arrive at the magnificent Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, a masterpiece of devotion, beauty, and communal pride. The temple stood in the ancient city of Ephesus, in what is now modern-day Turkey. It was dedicated to Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, nature, and fertility. What made this temple so extraordinary was its sheer size and beauty. Built entirely of marble, it was much larger than most Greek temples. Over 100 columns surrounded it, each standing about 18 meters or 59 feet tall. The structure was richly decorated with sculptures, carvings, and intricate artwork created by some of the finest artists of the time. But what truly sets the Temple of Artemis apart is its dramatic history. The temple wasn't just built once, it was rebuilt multiple times. The most famous version was destroyed in 356 BCE by a man named Herostratus, who set it on fire in a desperate attempt to become famous. After the destruction, the people of Ephesus rebuilt the temple even grander than before. This second version is the one that earned its place as a wonder of the ancient world. For centuries, the temple served not only as a place of worship, but also as a cultural and economic center. However, its greatness did not last forever. Over time, the temple was damaged by invasions and natural disasters. By the early centuries CE, it had fallen into ruin, and much of its stone was taken and reused in other buildings. Today, only a few columns remain at the site. From a sacred temple to a towering symbol of victory, we turn to the mighty Colossus of Rhodes. The Colossus was built on the island of Rhodes around 280 BCE. It was created to celebrate a major victory. The people of Rhodes had successfully defended their city against an invading army. To honor this triumph, they decided to build a statue of their patron god, Helios. The statue was enormous, estimated to be about 30 to 33 meters tall, making it one of the tallest statues of the ancient world. It was constructed using bronze plates over an iron framework, anchored with stone. Building it took around 12 years, a remarkable achievement of ancient engineering. Many people imagine the Colossus standing with its legs spread across the harbour entrance, ships passing between them. But this famous image is actually a myth. Most historians believe the statue stood on solid ground near the harbour, not over it, because that position would have been structurally impossible at the time. Despite its strength and size, the Colossus did not stand for long. Only about 50 years after it was completed, a powerful earthquake struck Rhodes and caused the statue to collapse. According to historical accounts, it broke at the knees and fell to the ground. The statue was never rebuilt. Centuries later, the remaining bronze was reportedly sold off and carried away, leaving no visible trace behind.